So at different stages in your academic career or even your professional career, you're going to see a prompt used in different stages. So if you're in California, you're going to see the WPE, which is the Writing Proficiency Examination. And if you go to a job or a professional field, sometimes you'll be giving a prompt, which is just a straight up question, and you have to respond to it in writing or you have to respond to it on the spot. So if you're struggling with a prompt, it's important that you stop and you understand what are the things that goes into a prompt and how can you make yourself master it. So in this video, which is the first part of 2 series, we're going to look at what goes into the anatomy of the prompt. So the first thing to understand about a prompt is that it's made of 2 things, a topic and a task. A topic is essentially the subject matter of which the prompt is talking about. This is also known as the question, the content, or whatever it's referring to. Your tasks are essentially the steps you need to take in order to answer the topic. A task is also known as the duties, the objectives, the responses. So when you're given a prompt, the first thing you need to do is to quickly identify what is the topic or what is the general idea. Then you need to break down the objectives or the tasks for you to respond effectively in the way you know. So one thing that's essential to notice about the prompt is that it always has some kind of explanatory verb involved. So quickly, here are some common verbs that you might see. You'll see describe, explain, illustrate, convince, or argue. One thing you'll notice is that describe, explain, and illustrate usually wants you to explain something. It's pretty self-explanatory. However, convince and argue wants you to persuade something. So usually when you see these verbs, it's usually a sign of what kind of answer or what kind of response you should give. So here are some example prompts, and let's just quickly break them down from topic to tasks and see how we can respond to it. By the way, these prompts were extracted from 501 writing prompts. So here's an example of a persuasive prompt. Imagine that you have made it to the final round of interviews for a new job. Convince your prospective employers that you are the one who most deserves the position. So first thing first, let's identify the subject matter or identify the topic that we want to talk about. So the overall topic of this prompt is job hunting or it's employment. Now you have to search for the key verb, which is convince. Once you see the word convince, you can trigger your mind that this is a persuasive response. You're trying to sell yourself, you're trying to convince whoever's on the other side that you're the one for this job. So moving on real quick, here's an example of an expository prompt, and let's see if you can identify the topic and the tasks in order to accomplish the prompt. The prompt says, tell about a world-class athlete. Explain why you include this person in that category. So take a quick couple seconds to identify the topic and the verb. So your topic here is discussing world-class athletes. Your task or your duty is explaining. And it's an interesting exposition because you're trying to explain why you believe they're a world-class athlete. Here's one more quick example for you. See if you can identify the topic and the tasks. The prompt says, sometimes something negative turns out to be a positive, a blessing in disguise. Describe a time in your life when something bad turned out to be good. So this is a narrative response that wants you to describe something good. Your verb or your task immediately is describe. So you're going to get into more details and you describe something good. So how I'll respond it is actually a fun fact. So in my house here in California, I raise a bunch of chickens. Sometimes these chickens die from natural causes like a heat wave or hawks or something. I don't know. Sometimes they just die. The blessing in disguise is that whenever they die, something good happens. For example, one time they died en masse, I ended up getting into grad school. You know, that's just how it is, I guess. I don't know. So anyways, so finally, I'm going to give you a sample prompt that you'll see on a writing proficiency examination, and this is taken from Cal State University Dominguez Hills on their website. So you can always go online and find sample prompts that you can practice with. So as I'm reading this prompt, you're going to see that it's structured differently than the previous 3 prompts. However, it's still doing the same thing. So remember to identify that subject matter and see the duties or the tasks that you want to accomplish. So the prompt says, there is no doubt that America is a melting pot. By the same token, there's no doubt that most members of specific races and nationalities strive their whole lives to maintain a link with their original ethnic identity and culture. Do you agree or disagree with this assumption? Argue for a lifestyle that emphasizes assimilation or a lifestyle that emphasizes the maintenance of cultural ties, and indicate which lifestyle better leads to success in the American culture. So this is a long prompt, but if you focus immediately right away on the task, you immediately can identify that this prompt is persuasive in nature. It wants you to compare one thing that it explains before and another subject that it already explained as well. So to conclude, The anatomy prompt is pretty easy to identify. It's made of two things. It's the task and the topic. You want to identify the subject matter of the question that the prompt is raising, and then you want to take the steps of what the prompt is asking you to accomplish. Prompts are really useful for you to stimulate your mind as well. You can use them to engage in further research, or you can engage in an idea that you want to accomplish. So in the next video, we're going to look at how to write our own prompts by mastering these certain anatomies of it. We're going to take control of the body of the prompt, and we're going to learn how to essentially create our own tasks, things we want to question and things we want to accomplish. So last but not least, don't forget to keep working hard, put your best writing forward, and go with whatever you think is right. Always edit, always go back and review. And last but not least, we all love you.